This place is so dodgy. I mean, it says it's reputable and it's absolutely packed with stuff. It's taken me an hour and 20 minutes to find the place because nobody would answer the phone, they wouldn't reply to my messages. I was genuinely just going to drive back, but apparently this is it. Well guys, today is the day of moment of truth, if you like. So we've done quite a bit to the Discovery 3 since we last saw you, and the majority of that has been trying to clean the inside of the vehicle up, make it look more presentable, and just identify where we've got a few issues. I'm heading from Liverpool down to Wolverhampton to pick up some seats. Now I've got the seats from a breaker's yard. Amazingly, a full set of seats in cloth for one of these Discovery 3s has only cost me 120 quid, which is about $180, I guess. And that's cheap. I mean, I think that's good value. I doubt I'm even going to replace these two front seats, even though I've bought a full set of 7 seats. They're described as being black cloth, but I've got a feeling these are black cloth and they're actually grey. Very dark grey, so I'm hoping they're going to match. If they don't match, I'll take all 7. If they do match, I'll leave the other 2 behind and perhaps negotiate on a couple of other parts. Obviously, parts are readily available for these from breakers' yards. Sadly, you know, a lot of them have been broken, or as in broken up and sold as parts. So you can get the bits and pieces very easily. However, I did nearly fall into the trap of ordering a load of used parts when actually I can buy new aftermarket parts that are probably better and cheaper. So it's a really difficult balance to know what to buy new as an aftermarket product and what to buy, you know, used that's been scrapped off another car. So we had the Disco professionally valeted. I was attempting to do it myself, but I just didn't have the equipment, and by the time I would have spent probably 300 quid buying all the chemicals, a wet and dry vac, etc., etc., I was just like, can I even, you know, get as good a result? So I paid somebody £150. His details are in the description because he's done an amazing job. Time to clear out the Discovery. Got a lot of very disgusting parts in here. The interior, it's a little bit unfortunate. This is what I mean about all the grime that's behind those panels, so I do want to get this all properly cleaned up, and then we'll be looking a little bit more like an actual Discovery. We've got a professional valeter now doing the work because I just didn't have the gear for it, and I thought best to get it done properly. He's just said that this is actually paint on here, so it's a lot easier to remove than I thought. I've got a feeling on the back it's not going to be paint, but we shall see. For 150 quid, this was an absolute shitbox inside. It was awful. And although he's not happy with what he's done, that's because basically he spends all of his time doing Lamborghinis and Bugattis and things like that. So I was really lucky that I managed to con him into doing the clean on this vehicle. And yeah, he's done a really deep clean. The headliner has come up amazingly. I mean, you saw how filthy that was in the previous episode, and I'll show you again now just how awful it was. And yeah, he's really cleaned up a tree, so I don't now need to retrim that. That saved me probably at least 150 quid, to be honest. Fingers crossed. I really hope that next time I switch the camera on, we've arrived safely and without any issues at the breaker's yard. Let's see.
This place is so dodgy. I mean, it says it's reputable and it's absolutely packed with stuff. It's taken me an hour and 20 minutes to find the place because nobody would answer the phone, they wouldn't reply to my messages. I was genuinely just going to drive back, but apparently this is it. Just unbelievable. It's just racks and racks of cubby box, centre boxes, just everything. Roof racks, look on the wall. So if it's kosher, it's a good place to come for parts, that's for sure, but bugger me, it's hard to find. Some seats have arrived. Okay, that's a seat. That's a seat. I'm getting excited. Just see them all first, and I'll pull up and put them in the car and drive off into the sunset.
Well, that was quite the experience. Turned out they were genuinely proper, legitimate breaker's yard. Just the language barrier was so enormous that nobody knew what each other was saying. So they got the seats out and they were just as described. They brought out the exact set that I'd bought on eBay. Now, I might have said before that the seats that I'd bought had been described as black, and I'm pretty sure that these are black in the front here, but they're more of a dark grey, and luckily all the seats match. So I didn't need the front two seats, so I set about trying to negotiate buying some more stuff and trading back the front seats, but they just weren't interested in the front seats whatsoever. But they did me a fantastic deal. So I needed the second row and the third row seat belts because they didn't come in the listing. And I mean, they list them for about £50 each, which is, you know, it's a lot of money compared to what I paid for the seats. So anyway, they gave me all the fixing bolts wrapped up in a old t-shirt and the seat belts for 50 quid the job lot, which is a bargain because you know, I was expecting to have to pay a lot more than that, but I think that's a fair price because they must have, looking at what's in there, hundreds of them, but at the end of the day it's their business, so you know, they need to have a lot of product to make a living. So I'm going to tell you where these guys are, because if you are looking for Disco 3, 4 Range Rover Sport bits, they have got what you need, I can guarantee it. And they're good guys, they're genuine guys, so you know, it's worth a look if you're looking for some parts. So less than 200 quid has bought me all the seats I need, all the fixings and all the seat belts and some interior wheel arch trim. That is a win. So I thought you'd like to see in detail some of the work I did on the interior. Now, I can't take the credit for the cleaning, can take the credit for installing all the seats. Now, it wasn't a simple, straightforward job. You can see down here we've got this this sort of mastic stuff, this tiger seal effect, and basically that is all over the vehicle like this. Now, what they'd actually done is every bolt hole that was used to fit the seats, the seat belts, the locking mechanisms were all gummed up with that, which is a good thing because obviously when you're driving as a commercial you don't want water coming through them, but it just did pose a bit of a challenge when I was actually doing the seats. This plate that stretches across the vehicle was actually included with all the seats as the set, which is great, and I needed the bolts to go in it. This is basically what was inside every one of the holes in the vehicle, and you know, the best way to get them out was basically just to scrape them off with a scraper, the heads of them off, and then I just used a 5mm drill bit just to drill through most of the material. Then I sprayed it with a lot of WD-40, and actually the bolts went in quite happily. The nice thing was all these location pins are still in the floor pan, so basically the chairs just dropped straight in. As you know, I didn't include the carpet, got that removed. One thing that was interesting is actually you've got these locking mechanisms that lock the third row seats in place, which work. Now, they actually had been completely gummed up. It seems pretty bizarre because the whole thing was still installed, and it was still there, even though there was no seats. And I don't think they used this as a support for anything, but this was still installed. And the nice thing was, this was just all full of mastic. So I had to just chisel all of this mastic out with a screwdriver, get it free, loads of lube, and then it works a treat. So we've got the rear seats in there as well on the third row. As I said before, headliner just came out magnificently. Just a bit of a disappointment. Obviously, you've got a few little scuffs, but it's so much cleaner than before that I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. Now, I know the commercial Discovery had a purpose, and obviously that was a tax benefit for a lot of companies, and it does work. But, you know, the fact that these seats fold down completely flat anyway, I'll try and demonstrate it with one hand because the system's so good. You can see there, look. We just go completely flat. So the bulkhead and the floor that was installed in this commercial vehicle didn't give you any more sort of storage area than you do with the seats down. It just was a more utilitarian version, if you like. So I haven't lost any load space, I've just gained loads of seat space. And on that point, I have obviously notified the DVLA, so I've made the adjustments to the V5 logbook, sent that off, and I informed my insurance company when I took out the insurance that it was going to be converted into 7 seats. So I've got myself legally covered as well, which I think is really important to do if you're going to be doing a conversion like this. Made no difference to the insurance, but obviously you need to make sure you're all covered. You'll notice on the back here that I've actually fitted a new windscreen wiper. This was super cheap, so we're looking at 25 quid for the whole arm and the wiper blade. So that went on really easily again. It was just this cap, or the old cap, had been masticed on for safety reasons, I suppose, so you didn't catch yourself on it. That just pulled off. The threads were all still there, went straight on, worked straight away, no problem at all done. Now you'll also notice that all the decals, all the signage has come off the vehicle. That didn't take as long as I thought. Literally a heat gun and just working on each of those panels took me about half an hour. There is some residue, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to get rid of this. A little tip that I've been taught just to get this sticky residue off, and we'll cover that in the next episode. But I got the majority of it off, even on the back, and obviously all the windows are now clear. You can see here, look. So really pleased with how the windows have come out. I'm probably going to get them tinted. The reason is that because they were spray painted, it's a bit of a rough edge around some of this blacking area, and also these have been damaged. These heat elements were a bit damaged when I was removing some of the paint, scraping it off, so they're not going to work anymore, which is a shame, but at the end of the day, I think if I do tint them properly, they'll look really good. The back came up nicely, got all the stickers off the back as well. The only thing I would say is if you're taking graphics off a vehicle like this, do be prepared to highlight a few dents on your vehicle, because we did actually show up quite a few dents. You can't see it now because it's dirty, but actually when it was all shiny and polished, that's never happened, but when it was clean, you can actually see it's got a few dents in there, and they do cover it up, so yeah, you're going to have that, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. So just come back from the MOT station. Even though the MOT is not due for a couple of weeks, I did want to make sure that we weren't investing too much time and money in this vehicle in case it was absolutely terrible underneath and we had loads of problems. I'm pleased to say that the vehicle has failed, but not badly. So let's have a quick look and see where we failed. So we have tyre tread depth below requirements on the rear. Now both the rear tyres were a bit shot. I thought they were legal, but apparently they're not, so they need replacing immediately. I think they're right. Look, that is not legal. It's so hard to tell with these off-road tyres, these all-terrain tyres, but you can see on the inside edge there, look, that is definitely below 1.6. That's about 6 mil. So yeah, that was unwise driving it on that. I didn't notice it was that bad on the inside, so yeah, I'm grateful that they pointed that out. We had an issue with our exhaust emissions. They exceeded the default limit. Now, I was aware that we were kicking out some black smoke under load, so I'm going to change the air mass sensor in a hope that that works in combination with a bit more driving with some fluids in there, and hopefully we'll crack that with that solution. Now, we've got some issues with the suspension arms. So we've got suspension arm ball joint excessively worn offside front lower. Suspension arm ball joint dust cover no longer prevents the ingress of dirt offside front lower, so that whole suspension arm needs to be changed, the lower one on the offside front. And suspension arm ball joint dust cover no longer prevents the ingress of dirt near side front lower. That's a bit of a shame because that is just literally a rubber boot, but we're doing the right hand side. We might as well do the left hand side. They're both taking equal amount of load and wear, so we'll do both the lower suspension arms, and that should get us covered. Now the suspension arms, well, let me just quickly cut into here. So tyre has a cut in excess of requirements, deep enough to reach the ply. Again, that's on one of the rear tyres, so we knew about that. And they've said it's got a supplementary restraint system warning lamp indicating a fault. I can't see that, and I took the guy outside, turned it on straight away, and there was no light. All I can think of is there's a dodgy wire, which is worth investigating, so that's why I wanted to get a proper MOT. There might be a little bit of a loose connection under the driver's seat, because he did obviously adjust that to get into his driving position and check that it was secure, so he might have just tweaked something there, but it's all sorted now. And the last thing, which is really random, is the windscreen washer not working offside front. It does work, but there's a 2-second delay. So when you squirt it, it comes out the left-hand side first, you wait 2 seconds, comes out the right-hand side. So I can get that pre-primed, if you like, before I take it next time, and that should work quickly enough for not to be an issue. So just running through some of the costs, I mean, it is not, apart from the tyres, it's not bad. If we look at the air mass sensor, which I'm thinking is going to be a good solution. I will check for splits in some of the other pipes as well, but it's 100 quid for an air mass sensor, so I'm going to be fitting one of those, a VDO one of those. And the suspension arm lowers on each side, 105 quid with all the fitting kit. And it's worth getting the fitting kit because I can guarantee those bolts, nuts and bolts and things are not going to want to go back on. So we're looking at £310 to do everything. Apart from labour, which I'll try and do it myself. Apart from the tyres, now tyre-wise, if I had to buy them, probably looking at 120 quid a corner. Only 2, I'll probably get 4, but that would be another 240 quid, 250. So we're just tipping over 500 quid to get everything done. And I'm well chuffed with that. I've got to be honest, I'm well chuffed. So we are going to get all of that done. We've got 10 days to get that done, so we are going to get into action now, and I'll show you some of the work being done. We'll cover some of the aspects of the emissions and things like that, see if we can get any sort of positive results out the back. We can't drive it on the road now, but we're on a good site here, so there's a bit of room to do some testing, so we'll do that. But yeah, so apart from that, I'm really pleased. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. It's been a long one to put together because we've done so many things on the vehicle, and just moving forward, I'm really looking forward now to, we've got a really good base vehicle, get it through its MOT, we know what we got, and we'll just keep working away to stop that HTC mode coming through, and we're going to start having some fun with this Disco 3. So thanks very much for watching. Please do subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.